Let's give it up for our executive producer, Wendy Jacobson. Director, writer, producer, Shawn Levy. And our cast, the wonderful Emma Corrin.
I guess.
The one and only Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. And producer, writer, and Deadpool himself, Reynolds.
Come on. All right. Wow. All right. I like this, yeah.
You may be wondering why we've called you here.
Thank you so much for coming to Berlin. This is an exciting day. And to be honest, Shawn, Hugh, and Ryan, I'm a little frustrated because after what I saw what you guys did at the press conference in South Korea, I was expecting blue, yellow, and red lederhosen today.
Yeah,
yes.
blew it. We blew it.
You didn't do it.
We have failed you, Germany.
Exactly. But tomorrow is a chance. And I know there's 24 shopping in Berlin, so you might get the chance to get lederhosen. Let's start with you, Wendy. This is a very exciting project, and this has been probably the most anticipated movie in the past couple of decades. And there's a huge secrecy surrounding the plot. How do you keep something like this secret once it has gotten out that this movie is going to be done?
Well, I think Marvel has a ton of experience with trying to keep their secrets safe, and something they've learned over 30-plus movies. And we have a lot of protocols in place and an amazing team in general, and a lot of steps that people might find annoying in terms of getting script pages and collecting them and stuff like that, but we really rely on our team heavily for that. So.
But to be clear, we all live in constant terror that we are going to open our mouth and let something slip. So I'm experiencing that terror here today.
I almost did it yesterday.
I know.
Just casually sitting next to Jackman there.
Yeah, it's all
and
Jackman.
just about put something huge one just about popped out of my mouth. But you get jet lagged, or our reserves are low, and you get a little weak, and
So take advantage of us today.
yeah.
Emma, you seem to be very relaxed about the whole secrecy thing. Is it as difficult for you as it is for everyone else?
I think more so, because this lot have experience with it. Like, if something gets out, all eyes on this guy, I think. But yeah, it's a lot of pressure, I think. I constantly feel like there are these like lasers from the spy films on me, and if I say anything, or even breathe, or even have the thought, I'm going to be, taken away somewhere.
Shawn, this is the third movie in a row that you are doing with Ryan. Did he prepare you in any way to what to expect doing a Marvel movie? I mean, you've done great movies, but is this something completely different, a different animal?
In fact, the first time he asked me to do this with him, he warned me. He said, this is not like a regular movie. You make every scene great, and then you have to keep going and make it even better. And it will own your soul and your imagination and your time and your energies, but it's also going to be worth it. And that's exactly how it all happened.
Hugh and Ryan, I think we're all very happy and grateful that you finally got the act together and are in a movie together.
We finally got our personal life act together.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes,
It's good.
definitely.
Yes.
You two are great friends, and we see the banter that you guys have on social media. How much did your friendship actually influence the scenes that you had together, improvising some of the dialogues and maybe acting together? I mean, was it difficult to keep it up, or was it even more fun because you finally got to turn into those characters?
I don't know that would be applicable broadly to the improv aspect, but I think some of the in the writing, some of the pieces that at least I'm most proud of are the more emotional beats that you have not been privy to in the footage that you've seen just yet, but where it's a real fine line in those scenes, whether or not it's Deadpool talking to Wolverine or Wolverine talking to Deadpool or Ryan talking to Hugh or vice versa, Hugh talking to me. I've waited a long time to do this with him, and the thought that it would live up to the standard or the idea that was set in my mind was, sort of inconceivable, but then somehow this surpassed it in so many different ways and colors than I think I ever could have imagined. So I just sort of left the whole process kind of immensely grateful and you know, we locked the movie a week and a half ago, and he and I were deeply depressed. I mean, usually at the end of a movie, there's just a Ryan-sized hole in the wall, and I'm gone and on my way home. But on this one, it was you just never wanted it to end. I never wanted to stop making it.
Yeah.
I had the time of my life on this movie. I had to pinch myself every single day, working with two of my best friends in the world, and of course with Emma, who's just incredibly talented, and even promoting the movie. It honestly feels like cheating. It's just really crazy that we got to do that every day. I laughed till I cried every day, and when you're right, this movie in many ways is about friendship at its core, and so to be working on screen and off screen with two of your great friends is just, it's a joy. It's the icing on the cake.
Great to hear that. Questions from the floor. The gentleman right here, and then we move up. Hier vorne direkt. Einmal vorstellen, bitte.
Yeah, my name is Mark Harapetian. I'm publisher and founder of the film and music magazine Spirit, A Smile in the Storm since my 16th living year. So it was a lot of fun to watch the footage, and it's great to have you guys here, Ryan and Hugh, because Hugh, I think last time we met it was at Les Miserables, and Ryan for Deadpool 2. So the two characters, Deadpool and Wolverine, they have a lot of differences, but can you talk about the similarities between them of the characters on set and also beside? Thank you.
Me to start? Okay. I think they have a tremendous amount of similarities. In fact, I think that that's what sort of draws them together. It's, you know, I think movies like this at their core, you know, they transcend, you know, world stakes and those kinds of things, and are really fundamentally about wish fulfillment, you know, from a character perspective. And I've always believed that character is more important than spectacle, and you know, when you can combine them in the right way, you get something pretty special. So you have a character like Deadpool or Wade Wilson, who is in, you know, sort of a terminal shame spiral, you know, in life, and how his maladaptive coping mechanism for dealing with that is you know, humor. I mean, he kind of, you know, self-deprecating, any brand of humor, really. That's his way of dealing with this kind of shame that he lives in. And Wolverine, too. Wolverine is trapped in this kind of sort of perpetual state of shame and regret, and it's sort of weirdly like centrifugal, like it keeps happening with Wolverine, because the thing that he's most ashamed of is his violent nature, and his violent nature is his coping mechanism for his shame. So you have these two guys who are coming together. Sometimes they feel like magnets when they stick together, and sometimes they feel like magnets when you turn them the other way and they bounce off of each other. So they each have something to learn from one another, and the journey they're on is, I think, one more of integration together than it is so much just specifically friendship.
Perfectly said, but I think also they're outsiders too, in a way. And it sort of presents differently, like Deadpool wants to be part of the team, and Wolverine's constantly kind of trying to push that away. But for whatever reason, both of them exist a little bit on the outside. They march to the beat of their own drum. And I think having those kind of characters come together, even though they're like the odd couple, reminds me a bit of Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours. There's a bunch of examples, but there's a lot of conflict, but there is something essentially about them that they understand about each other. And
they also, you know, one thing that I've always loved about it is that there's Wolverine is everything Deadpool wishes he could be. You know, he matters. You know, he's done it. He's been part of a team. People love him. So Deadpool just he always wants to, you know, I love that the character, like me in real life, is a bit of a fanboy. I mean, I'm a huge fanboy of what Hugh has done as Wolverine for you know, 5 decades now, 55 years, 60 years of doing this. You started out back then with George Reeve, and yeah, you know, but you know, I think in some level, Wolverine wishes that he could be at play with his shame and his, you know, his inner turmoil, and I love that these two guys have that kind of, that's very much on the surface the whole time. Yeah.
Shawn, we've been talking about, you know, the two of them working together and how much fun it was to bring these characters to life. What was it like for you to create this magic between the two of them with only one of them being able to show his face? You know, because that's probably something very different in creating, working with as a director.
Yeah, it's a great question. The truth is, and we all saw this every day, what Ryan does as Deadpool and as Wade, because even when he's Wade, he's wrapped in prosthetics. So what Ryan does every day in this performance is so kind of just astonishing to watch. I know we all felt that every day because you're doing it with one less tool without the face. So it's the voice and the body and the nuance of how you craft a performance with those implements. And Ryan does it so intuitively and so elegantly. And he manages somehow to convey, obviously, relentlessly, insanely funny shit. But he also conveys Wade's humanity, which is a real superpower and a testament to what Ryan's done in this character and for this character.
Ryan, has it become easier to do it?
No, there's a reason it's been 6 years since the last one. Yeah, you know, I mean, there were a lot of pitches, you know. I would go and sit with Kevin Feige, and ironically, the first pitch, when Disney bought Fox, and I went over there to meet my new dark overlords, and I'm sitting in Kevin Feige's office, and there's there's the Iron Man mask, and there's the Cap's shield, and I'm geeked out. It gets you a little bit, you get a little rattled. But the first pitch I made was Deadpool and Wolverine, and it was a hard no. And then I went through about, 17 more pitches over the years. But each time a pitch maybe didn't land, I never felt sadness. I felt relief. Because at least when I've done these movies, they completely and totally swallow my life whole. And I know it's an uptown problem. I'm not complaining, but I really like seeing my family, and I like a nice sleep in once in a while, and I don't totally love anxiety. So I had some relief then. So it hasn't gotten easier. I think the stakes have gotten bigger, I mean, since Deadpool 2, we've been the way we imbibe media has become so much more fractured and fragmented, and Deadpool is a through and through theatrical experience. I mean, one thing that Shawn has an incredibly long history of is building films and events that are really engineered for audience delight, and the best way to have that kind of collective effervescence is on the big screen in a theater, experience with other people. So to think about all those things as we go into it, and the amount of writing, it's just so much writing. It never stops. It's daunting, So I can't say it's easier. It's harder because I can't rely on some of my lazy tricks that I used to be able to rely on.
But I do think, wouldn't you agree, Ry, that the injection of Wolverine to this team up that we have all waited for, it gave this movie a reason to exist.
It's the why. It's the exact why we needed to, why are you making this? That's why, I mean.
He's why.
Yeah.
He's why. Yeah. Question from the gentleman over there in the back.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you can hear me. I'm Marcus Cheater from BZ Berlin. The last movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were not as successful as we used to be. So do you feel a kind of pressure now that Deadpool and Wolverine will rescue Disney?
Emma?
You serious?
No, I really don't want to answer it, but I will if no one else is going to step up.
I can do it. I'll do it.
Go for it. Yeah. Hit it.
Well, I didn't grow up watching Marvel. So again, I'm perfectly poised to answer this question. But I've sort of had a crash course in really quickly getting to know very intimately the sort of foundation of this huge franchise. And is it 85 years of comics? I read in my information pack?
Correct.
85 years.
Someone did their homework.
Thank you so much. Had to.
No idea.
But no, seriously, it's been so long, and this story is so beloved by people and is beloved from when they're kids to when they're adults. And I'd never realized before that it's
not just about the action sequences and about superheroes. There's so much heart to these stories. And I think this one, more than any of them, it's a huge statement, but it's about friendship, and it's about redemption, and it's about being seen by people when you feel misunderstood or too ashamed to come to terms with yourself or things that you've done in your past. And I think that that's something people can relate to throughout their lives.
Well,
probably,
wow. Wow. That is, can we leave? We're done. I think we're done here. Yeah. That was by far the best answer of the press tour so far. Wow.
My answer was going to be right, but that was
Thank you, Emma. There's another question coming from the gentleman right here in the third row with the red T-shirt, and then we move him backwards.
Hello, it's Philip from Movie Start. I'm also astonished by the 30 minutes I saw. I hope I can see the full movie later.
Very soon, very soon.
So we know Marvel changed the classic filmmaking to this kind of modern, mainstream, big entertainment industry. Then Deadpool did the next step. It introduced self-referential humor, and so especially to Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Levy, what does film mean to you, and how do you see filmmaking at this point?
Emma?
Yeah, Emma, hit it, Emma. I always see. We all see it differently. I mean, that's a very broad question. I mean, you know, I look at things sometimes through the lens of acknowledging and playing with a cultural landscape. I think movies have always been very good at, you know, doing just that. You know, these movies I mentioned earlier, to me, are always a little bit about wish fulfillment. You know, so as far as I'm concerned, at least when I'm writing and producing a movie like this, I'm really kind of mining all of those movies that I grew up watching that, you know, left me feeling like there was real magic out there. And then as I've grown older, I've really found respite in old films. You know, I've been all I watch at home is Turner Classic Movies, and it's just on 24 hours a day, and I learned, so it's my film school. But I think, you know, ultimately all of these particular films also have to play with tension, you know, in different ways. There's sexual tension, there's just,
and the tension of expectation.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, that's where I have to give you credit. And you rightfully point out, you have this genre that Ryan with Deadpool redefined. And now we see it imitated in so many places, but that's what he did. He created something that was audacious and subversive. And so my answer to that question is, cinema is about connection with audience. Deadpool and what Ryan did with this character connects with the audience in a different way. It's a character who's commenting on the form while he is in the content. And that is an audacious idea. And it's instinctive for Ryan, but it was and is groundbreaking. And so what we've tried to do with Deadpool and Wolverine is to embrace all of that self-referential meta textuality and comedy, but to also embrace old-fashioned, traditional, classic cinema, which is a character's journey and two characters, in this case, who are foisted together. And that's a recipe for conflict and comedy, but ultimately, as Emma said, the possibility of redemption through that connection.
And never cynicism, too. I just love that, particularly Shawn and I in our journey together, and the fact that we get to make, I can never get over the fact that we get to make movies together, and this being our third, and each one quite different. The one common denominator with all of them is there's no cynicism. I mean, life's been pretty shitty for a lot of people for the last decade. It hasn't felt great, and like I just think joy is a great place to be. You know, even when this character is in the midst of just absolute self-pity, we never push the cynicism. No, it's always optimistic, and it's ultimately at the end meant just joy. Yeah.
Wendy, as you can probably sense and hear and see, is that everyone is very anxious to see the rest of the movie, and they're all very excited.
Wendy's about to give us the green light. We're going to go.
Exactly. We're going to watch it now. No, but Wendy, there's such a huge fan base when it comes to Deadpool and Wolverine. How important was it for you as the producer of the movie to incorporate sort of suggestions and opinions about where this story should go and to interact with them? Is that something that is, especially in this world, important for you as a filmmaker and producer?
Well, I would say that with Shawn and Ryan leading the charge, I mean, I don't think anyone is more in touch with their audience than Ryan Reynolds, and he is the author and DNA of this character. So we feel immense pressure to deliver to audiences what they want to see. And my hats are off to these guys as filmmakers, because they are not precious about anything. If we test the movie and something isn't working, it's gone. All they want to do is make the best movie possible for the fans, and one that these two characters deserve.
And it's not only about two characters, but there's a third one that is very important, Emma. It's Cassandra Nova, and I think she's not like the straightforward villain that we normally know, not as blunt as some of the others. What did you want to do, or what do you want the audience to feel when they see your character on the big screen?
Cassandra was a really fun one, because I remember one of the first times me and Ryan and Shawn chatted, it was about how we wanted to make Cassandra as unpredictable as possible. So you're really not sure in any one moment whether you're going to love her or hate her. And we sort of wanted to give the audience a bit of an identity crisis with that, and constantly question her motivation and what was going to come next. And that's so fun to play as an actor. It's like the biggest treat. And I remember even in the camera test, Shawn, you kept using this thing of like, I want to see a change in the weather. So it's like the sun's out, and then like lightning strikes, you're dead kind of thing. Yeah. So I guess in that way, quite a Deadpool thing, again, of like, you're never quite sure what you're going to get, and keeping your audience completely there with you the whole time, on your toes, which is, yeah, fun.
But also, there was only ever one choice for that role.
Yeah, we've
Emma.
never actually spoken about that.
Yeah.
Emma was our first idea.
You could have negotiated much harder. No idea. Yeah.
That's nice of you to say now.
Yeah.
I can't wait for audiences, for you guys to see what Emma has done, because Ryan and I, we had a front row seat every day to absolutely having no idea what the weather was going to be at any moment. And it changed from take to take. She's so mercurial, and just, Emma, you did an incredible, incredible job. So I can't wait for you to discover it.
Also, Em played Cassandra a lot of times like the hero, which I just love that, because there's no villain who just thinks, like, wakes up in the morning and says, I'm just going to be a dick. There's a conviction there. There's a real reason for the behavior, and whatever the reasoning that you found, and whatever the reasoning was written into it as well, was so apparently noble in your mind that you feel it in every moment. It's like a Gene Wilder kind of
deluded
thing going. It's great.
Deluded.
Yeah, it's great.
Deluded.
Yeah, but is that true, Emma? That's what I read, that you based parts of the character on Willy Wonka.
Yeah, it was one of the references. I remember, Ryan, the one you mentioned was Inglourious Bastards.
Yes.
With Waltz. And when he plays, I don't know what the character's name is, but...
Hans.
Landa.
Yeah. Yeah. And that sort of famous scene where he comes to the house and is drinking milk, and you were sort of like, because he's in the uniform and he's so explicitly evil, he can sit down and play nice and fairy godmother, and it's so unnerving because it's not being acknowledged, and it makes it 10 times scarier. And I hadn't really thought about that as a concept before, and I found that so interesting. And when I was doing exploring more of the movement stuff as well, yeah, I was looking at Gene Wilder in the way, in that film in particular, and his Willy Wonka, it's so insidious. He's sort of like poise and his airiness and his flightiness, and all things that point towards him being sweet, almost too sweet, like the child snatcher sort of vibe. And yeah, lures you in, and then you don't know what you're gonna get.